Well, we try not to. We try to keep it about an hour and a half max, but sometimes it gets a little bit tangency. So sometimes
Right.
they're long. Well,
It's always
we
good.
already started, ladies and gentlemen, but here we are. Welcome to another episode of Video Store Rejects. This is a podcast where we discuss directors' filmographies and our favorite film franchises. We are starting a new series. We are going on a very long journey. Lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of in betweens. That's right. We are going through the visual styling and strain. I don't even know what to say because we're discussing the films of Ridley Scott, and this month we are discussing the first four films in his filmography. Today is his debut film, The Duelist. I am your host, Cody House. With me is my co host, social media content manager, Chris Jacobs.
How's it going, peeps?
A returning guest, Justin Doyle. Justin, welcome to the show again.
Hey, thanks for having
And
me.
just like Justin Doyle fashion, I believe he picked a film from what the directors were discussing that he had never seen before. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. I feel like you can be like the most honest after a first viewing. The second viewing, you notice things, and you're like, okay, now I'm kind of liking a little bit more. But I feel like the first viewing is the most honest viewing you can give. So that's why I really like doing first views. And yeah, it turns out I've seen a lot of Ridley Scott movies. So I wanted to go with one I hadn't seen, and The Duelists. Had no idea going in, so I was excited.
And Chris, this was your first time watching it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. This was our first time. I had honestly never heard of it until you said, "Hey, we're gonna do it," and I was like, "Cool, that's his first movie. I'm kind of excited to see this, and now I'm glad I did." So,
So,
Yeah.
Justin, what are your thoughts on Ridley Scott as a director? Because mine are a little baffling. I think he's a good director. I think he definitely has a visual style, but I don't feel like he's an auteur director like some of the directors we've discussed in the past. I feel like he's kind of a cross between if Clint Eastwood and Steven Spielberg had a in between. Like there's a style, but I feel like he's kind of a journeyman director. Like there's so many projects in his filmography where it's like, well, either he needed the money or he wanted to work and he just took the job. Like, but then there's like these wild passion projects he does every once in a while where like you knew he wanted to make that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we can even just talk about what he put out this year as far as what you're talking about exactly. Like House of Gucci and The Last Duel are two completely different films. I mean, they're in different categories, except for if you put them in the drama one, but they're both, yeah, both directed differently, both, have different circumstances and situations. But I think he is a journeyman, and what you were saying between Clint Eastwood and Steven Spielberg, immediately I went to Spielberg, because he's that way too. He has his style, but he can really reach into different categories. I mean, like you guys will get into, Ridley Scott has done Aliens, but he's also done like Alien, but he's also done like Black Hawk Down, war movie, sci-fi. I mean, some similar things where war is involved in some sort of way, in some sort of fashion, which I think he does like that the most, is sort of like what history brings. It's always about historical things mostly, or made up things like an Alien.
mhm.
Yeah, I feel like he has two kind of passion areas. And I know most people kind of equate him for being the director of Alien and Blade Runner. But I feel like besides sci-fi, I feel like these historical dramas are kind of his wheelhouse because he's done so many of them. And a lot of them were either projects that put him back on the map or projects he wanted to make after the success of other projects. So it's kind of interesting. His first film is a historical drama, and it's kind of symmetry here that you're going to come back and talk The Last Duel with us because his first movie's called The
The
Duelist.
Duelist.
Yeah, and thematically, it's has similar sort of things. I mean, obviously, one's about one thing and one's about the other, but I mean, it's still swordsmen, it's still battling, it's men on men, just for whatever reason it may be, because in the Duelists, I don't know if what they're fighting for is really what we should be fighting for, um, uh, and it spans for 20 years, so way to hold a grudge.
Yeah. And it seemed like he was just being Keitel was just being like the largest bully in history. Like you said, carrying this grudge that just didn't make any sense at all.
So the first time I watched it a few years ago because it was streaming somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen this. I know it's his first movie. I know there's like filmmakers who love this film. Like this is one of Christopher Nolan's favorite movies, apparently." And the first time I watched it, I was like, "That's what this movie's about? They're just dueling over nothing because Harvey Keitel got his feelings hurt because Keith Carradine came in and was like, "Hey, the general or the major says you're in trouble." Like, but watching it now, and apparently it's a short story. I think it's either a novel or a short story written by Joseph Conrad, who wrote Heart of Darkness, which is what Apocalypse Now is loosely based off of. It's loosely based on a true story. So I'm like, you know what? That's actually how real rivalries happen, over nothing. And then they get blown out of proportion. As the movie progresses, people are like talking to them like, "Oh, I heard you hate Napoleon," or "I heard it was over a woman," or like it gets bigger and bigger. And Keith Carradine's like, "Where did you hear that?"
He definitely showcases the toxicity of the toxic side of the whole honor system. Because that's what because Carradine's character, and forgive me because I'm going to use Carradine, and because I
can't remember. I know one's a DuPont, I believe. I forget what Keitel's character's name.
It's de Hubert, and Farad.
Farad, yeah. Okay. Doob and Fur. I will not use those. But but Carradine, it seemed like he was, because of being bullied into upholding the honor of accepting this duel, or else people were going to think you were chicken. It's kind of
the classic column chicken.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Marty McFly getting called chicken, too many times. I mean, it was just really ridiculous, and I was like, wow, they built, like you said, they built a whole 20-year rivalry out of getting his feelings hurt, that he got a slap on the wrist for dueling another guy,
Not to interrupt you, Chris, but I do hear our other co-host, so I just want to introduce her, Lindsay Jacobs, our fact checker, and
hi, Lindsay.
Disembodied voice. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, she's just a voice.
Of course, and research extraordinaire over there. Yes.
I don't know about extraordinaire, but I appreciate it.
So I'm going to tell you my biggest problem with this movie, other than what I think you highlighted perfectly, Chris, is that it is about the toxicity, not just of honor, but just violence in men. So I think Keitel's character is he just loves to duel, right? He just wants to fight people. He wants to kill them or to be killed. And yeah, Keith Carradine only does this because of a sense of honor, or like, well, he challenged me, I can't back down, or people will think I'm a coward.
Yeah.
I have a hard time buying both of these actors in these roles because they are so American to me. Because Keitel is so much like a New York guy. Like, why aren't you're a cop? You're a criminal. What are you doing in this outfit? And I know Keith Carradine hasn't always been an old man, a case in point of this movie, but he just seems so folksy, like he was just born to be like an old man spinning yarns and sage wisdom to younger people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he was charming enough, though, you know, because the whole time it's like, well, who are we supposed to root for? I mean, are we supposed to be, just because we're kind of following Carradine a little bit more, are we supposed to root for him? You know, but who's right in the situation? I mean, but they're both wrong. Dueling is not the way to handle things. You know, obviously nowadays we've kind of grown up since the 1800s, but
now we just have Twitter fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's just trolling each other. But I love swordsmanship. I think the way that this movie opened with a Barry Lyndon sort of sweep across, you know, because I do think that he was influenced by Barry Lyndon and Kubrick there, because this had a lot of that going on. But I love the way it opened, and to open to a duel. You know, we had a sword fight going on with Keitel and a random guy. I mean, just we didn't even really know, but we can tell that he's a good swordsman. And then, I mean, the way that he was, like the acting and delivering of it all, I thought was really good. But you're right. None of them had accents. The two leads had no accent whatsoever. Everybody else around them do, you know, so it makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, they were a little bit miscast, I think.
Well, I'm sure had they tried to do accents, it would have probably been atrocious. But so Ridley Scott developed this movie. Before he was a filmmaker, he mostly did commercials, which I think is why he has such a visual flair to his movies, because he did commercials and he was an art school major. And he decided, because he's about 40 years old. I don't know if you guys know this. Ridley Scott's over 80 and he's still cranking movies out. And kind of talks like a cranky 80-year-old man, blaming millennials for not seeing his movie about sexual assault and people not wanting to listen to women. Well, probably women didn't want to watch a movie about sexual assault.
Well, for the commentary going on in these days, you know, these days and ages, like that's a good movie to see. I think it delivers the right note.
I'm not faulting the movie or how well made it is. I just think he's kind of pointing the blame at the wrong thing. And also, there's a pandemic going on, Ridley Scott. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
And blame the critics for liking House of Gucci more than Last Duel too, because it makes no sense.
I have yet to see House of Gucci. I've heard various opinions. Nobody is saying like it's a masterpiece. If people like it, they're like, you know what? I thought it was trashy fun. But I've heard a lot of people say it should have been more trashy. Like it was trying to be too serious.
They should have leaned into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the only person who really leaned into the trash for sure was Jared Leto, and he's the best part of the movie.
That's sad if Jared Leto is the best part of the movie.
Well, sorry, Ridley, but I'm watching Jessica Jones right now, and it's pretty damn good. So,
but yeah, he was definitely inspired by Barry Lyndon, which I think a lot of people accuse this as kind of being like Barry Lyndon light. I've never seen Barry Lyndon, but I know that like it evolves around a duel at the beginning and the end of the film. And I think like the color of how they shot the film also, because they try to make it look like a painting from those eras.
Yep.
But the reason go ahead.
That last scene with well, I won't say who because that would give it away, but that last scene with the gentleman you know, looking out onto the water is actually like of a real painting. And he like recreated that entire scene, so it's really, really good. It was stunning. Like the movie itself is visually stunning. I mean, you know, Ridley Scott on his first try doing this is unbelievable.
I think that's the highlight of this movie for me, is the visual style and just how it's like technically a really amazing achievement. I just wish the story wasn't so meandering. But if it's based on true events, what are you going to do? And one of the reasons he made this movie was he was like, well, nobody's going to offer me a movie, even though I've shot like over 2,000 commercials. So let me find something that's like open game, like there's no copyrights because it's so old, and that's why he picked this story. Even though the screenwriter originally wanted to do a movie about Guy Fawkes, which would have been cool, but okay, we got this. And if nothing else, this gives them a foot in the door.
And with a budget of only $900,000, I think, I mean, the man knows what to do to make a movie. You know, it won the best debut film at the 1977 Cannes Film Festival, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, and that's probably because I don't think this movie was like a huge financial success, but if it only cost $900,000, I'm sure it made its money back.
At least.
But it got critical attention and awards recognition. But yeah, you talk about the budget. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Sir Albert Finney's briefly in this movie as like a I don't know if he's like a military leader or he's like a town official, like a judge or something.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of saw him as like a Napoleon sort of person. I actually thought it was Brian Cox. But yeah, it's Albert Finney. I saw on here, and I'm like, damn it, I got it wrong. But you know, those old men are kind of
those big burly British old men.
Yeah, well, he was already a big dude back then in 1977. This is crazy. Harvey Keitel, Ridley Scott, both relevant like today. And this movie came out in 1977. I think that was just
both
insane.
men in their 80s now, and they're still working.
Of course, my favorite Keitel movie is Sister Act. So
it's kind of weird that he works so well in Wes Anderson movies, because you wouldn't think like those would be the right roles for him, but like in Grand Budapest Hotel, like they're using him perfectly for like the type of roles he's normally associated with.
Yeah, he's got a sense of humor for sure. Where have we met Carradine before? Like, why do I know him?
Did you watch Deadwood or Dexter? Because he's mostly a TV actor.
Yeah. Okay. Some Deadwood, I think.
Did he play Wild Bill Hickok?
Yeah, he played Wild Bill. Oh, that's crazy you brought up Deadwood, because I was showing that this is off topic, but the actress who played Calamity Jane showed up in Jessica Jones, and I was like, oh, that's Calamity Jane, and so I had to go show her on YouTube. So we kind of got into some Deadwood clips, but yes, he was Wild Bill on Deadwood.
He kind of looks like the guy who was in the Suicide Squad. The most recent one. He was I don't know the name, but he kind of reminds me of that guy a little bit. I'm trying to see how much the Duellists made at the box office, but it's not even coming up. I don't even think it was it released?
It wasn't reported. But do you know what Albert Finney's payment was for this movie?
What was it?
A case of champagne.
Oh, wow. Hey, why not? That's probably like a day's work.
Because I think whoever his girlfriend was or significant other at the time's in the movie, and I guess she worked on the movie and got him to be in it as a favor. But
it was like a 5-minute scene. It wasn't crazy. But he was great. I thought he fit right in, and he had an accent, right?
Well, yeah, which I was thinking, I was like, well, why wasn't he in this more? Like, why wasn't he one of the roles? What's interesting is Paramount gave Ridley Scott like a list of 4 actors. And of course, Keith Carradine and Keitel were 2 of them because, you know, Keitel had been in a bunch of Scorsese movies at this point, and Carradine had been in Nashville and some other things. He's David Carradine's brother, Justin, if that helps you jog your memory.
Yeah, that could be it.
But
and do you know who the other 2 actors were that were in the running?
I don't know who were in the running. I know Ridley Scott, and this would have worked, I think, better, but maybe their salaries were actually higher at the time. He wanted Michael York and Oliver Reed, which I think would have been great if he could have gotten those guys.
Mm-hmm. especially York.
Well, yeah, York would have definitely played the Carradine part, and
Yeah.
Oliver Reed would have played the Keitel part, which he's the gladiator trainer in Gladiator.
Yeah, I mean, it says right here that it's a British historical drama, and they had 2 Americans play. So I don't know.
And not just American, but like distinctly American actors, like these, because there are some American actors who could probably pull off playing Europeans, but like these are 2 actors, like I don't see them playing anything than like what we know them for.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like I said, I was just thinking about Sister Act the entire time with Keitel.
I kept waiting for De Niro to show up as one of his goons.
You're right. I liked him in U-571. He played a good U-boat. I think he was the skipper, but second in command.
Opposite demeanor of the Wolf from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Well, he really didn't do a lot besides dueling, you know, like he didn't have too much dialogue. I mean, I guess he just expressed a lot with his face and stuff. I mean, there actually wasn't a lot of dialogue in this to begin with. You're kind of following Carradine around for 20 years and how many times they meet up? It's just like, oh, we're crossing paths again. Like 2 years later, 8 years later after that, you know, it's like,
I like how they were in the bar and the guy asked him, "Hey, aren't you so-and-so?" And he says, "Yes, I am." And Harvey's over in the corner, like just sitting there with his buddies, like, oh, there he is. Okay. And he stands up and he does this, like number 3. And he's like, he just does this. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, oh, we got to go fight now? Okay. Bring it.
I also like that they both get like like there's their first encounter, which kind of, I guess, is a draw. And then the second encounter, like Keitel nearly kills him. And then the third encounter, Carradine like nearly takes his head off. So like they both get like a jab at winning. And then there's that whole Russian sequence where they're like, all right, truce.
Well, he tried. I think was it a truce or do you think he was going to shoot him before the Cossacks showed up on horseback?
I mean, Keitel? Yeah.
They had a stare down like, okay, he's going to do it. He's going to shoot him in the back or just shoot him right there. And then that Cossack shows up and kind of thwarts his plan. Or that's the way I took it. Like maybe he was contemplating just shooting him because he had so much hatred for telling him that he was in trouble, you know.
Well, I guess when you're high up in the military, there's discipline against, you know, different ranks that were dueling. So I think maybe he was going to get caught.
Well, I mean, that's one of the sequences right before Carradine gets promoted from lieutenant to major. The general's like, I forbid you from dueling. And if it was up to me, you wouldn't be getting this promotion, but your other officer speaks highly of you. So I'm doing this based on his recommendation.
Yeah, there's on Wikipedia here, there's every time there's a duel, it's actually like a different way of dueling, which is good. I'm glad that they did that actually, because if you just did the swordsman thing over and over, like it kind of would have made it maybe a little bit boring, you know, unless they're doing like kick flips and shit. But
well, you had fencing, you had sabers,
then they did the horseback one.
They had horseback.
Yep.
And my favorite one is actually the last one with the pistols. Like, I mean, Jessica and I were watching it, and she's like, "Is this a duel or is this just like intense hide and seek?"
That reminded me of hide and seek when I was younger with BB guns. You know,
that was whoa. I wrote down in my notes that this would be perfect for, you know, paintball. You're talking about BB guns.
Well, no, I played a lot of paintball in my teens and through my 20s. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, that layout is perfect. There's so many hiding spots in there. Like, yeah. I was like, that's where I would have been. Like,
what also crazy way to do it, because this is the final duel. You know, we're gonna go start somewhere and come find me, and then
I was expecting
that's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm. I was expecting
they could pop out of nowhere
to march and then turn around and fire or something,
right?
You know?
Right.
And then it's like, I'm like, oh, it's hide and seek now. Okay, this is getting pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, because when you do the back-to-back duels and you walk away, you have to be a good shot, you know. So 2 shots, hopefully you get them, but you know, you could hit the arm, you could hit the leg, but yeah, if they jump out at me like from a bush, like I'm gonna have a heart attack on top of get shot in the
face. Yep. Or do like I did, just lay and wait for your prey to cross your path.
Yeah, well, it was like Call of Duty. It was like a video game for a little bit, you know.
I would have been doomed then. I suck at those kind of video games.
I do too. It takes me
first-person shooter.
Yeah.
It takes me a bit to warm up, and then I'm like my earlier gaming years kind of like I revert back to that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting good again, and then some 13-year-old comes in and kicks my ass. So,
but apparently in that sequence they had to have crew members on the side with a mattress because Harvey Keitel would throw the pistols after he shoots them, and apparently these were like antique pistols they were using. And Ridley Scott's like, we can't get these damaged.
Hey, I noticed. It's funny you said that because I noticed during the last duel that they were having where he shot because he was crawling along the wall, and instead of just tossing it, he like carefully reaches up and like sets it down like really carefully.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if those are antiques.
I almost think he was waiting for somebody to grab it, you know, because that was out of sight. Like it was like he was like, because it took him a while to put it up there.
Yeah.
But I can just see like a PA like grabbing it. But also those guns came in the box, whereas Carradine's guns came wrapped in like a towel. So yeah, both of them were really like nice guns. But yeah, 1 bullet each, so you get 2 shots.
And you got to be within a distance. Like I'm not claiming to be a weapons expert or anything like that, but I know the flintlock pistols did not have like a lot of accuracy that you see in the movies. Like I know the Patriot is guilty of doing that. Like there's a shot where they're escaping down a riverbed and he's pretty far back and he shoots his pistol and ends up hitting the guy, but he's like so far away that the accuracy would have just been it would have been hard to even
maybe
make
he was the first sort of wanted shooter, you know, that in Wanted you can curve the bullet. Maybe that's what he was doing.
Yes.
Like, shooting it in the air and it would just
and I'm not claiming to be an expert at weapons or anything, but I know I've read and I've seen a lot of specials and stuff where like especially the pistol shot was very like the accuracy was off. You had to be sometimes you lucked out, you know, in hitting your target unless you were within a certain like range, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, go off on my tangent. But yeah, that was a cool, like well done scene. I really do enjoy that.
So do we think Harvey Keitel just finds any excuse to fight somebody? Like, did he really get his feelings hurt by Keith Carradine coming and like giving him his warning papers, or was he just like, oh, I just want to fight somebody and I don't like how you look?
That's kind of what I was thinking, but it's hard to tell. Like, was he just being a bully and then you know how somebody can tell a lie and then they feed on that lie so much that they believe it wholeheartedly. I really think that he found him to pick on, and then over time in his own mind it became something so serious that he had to seek him out. Like keep seeking him out over the years. Like,
do you remember the scene where the one guy asked Carradine about like him saying something about Napoleon, and then Carradine's like, "What are you talking about? You need to go talk to him because that's crazy." And when he talks to Keitel, like Keitel's like passionately saying, "No, he said he wouldn't care if people spit on Napoleon in the face or something."
yeah.
Which I think he said like something when they're walking back to Keitel's house, like, people can say whatever they want. It doesn't mean anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like I get, like you said, I think like he initially just reacted violently and angrily, and then just created a lie in his head to justify his actions, and then started believing it because he had been telling people this lie for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the harder he pushed against that guy to fight him, and the harder he resisted, he was taking it way more. I definitely know people who clearly look for any reason to fight, but the more noble that your opponent behaves, the more you have to make up to justify why you hate them so much, because then you start to look kind of bananas to the people around you.
Politics.
Yeah, and
a little bit more personal politics, but yeah.
And even so, because as much as this goes on and he torments him and constantly wants to battle him, like, he has the perfect shot to end it. And instead he's like, I've won. You walk away. Leave me the hell alone. Let me live the rest of my life in peace. And I don't want to ever see your face again.
Yeah, you will be known to me as a dead man. Yeah. That's honor, right? That's what one of the themes of the movie, honor. And that's exactly it's a different kind of honor than what Farad is thinking that he needs. What would you guys do if you were in a duel? What would you choose?
I mean, if I was in the Carradine position, I would probably, if I got the upper hand, instead of like ending it, I'd probably be like, all right, dude, I whooped you, and this is your warning. Leave now. Please leave me the hell alone. Let me live my life. You have tormented me for nearly 20 years. I don't ever want to see your face again, because next time you will be dead. Please go away and just act like you don't know who I am. I got the best of you. Leave. It's over.
Like, I want to say I do the right thing. It just depends on how much you think he would uphold his honor.
That's true.
Is he gonna come back and try to kill you? Is he gonna take it the wrong way and hunt you down, or is he gonna come back and try to challenge you again? Like, I don't know. It's like you'd want to think that, okay, I've got the upper hand. Just go. Just leave me alone.
But if he's a person of so-called honor as well, then yeah, he's going to even in his warped sense, he's like, well, yeah, people are going to know you won. So it's probably better for my reputation that I died in a duel than, like, not.
That's dying with honor.
Yeah.
In a way.
Which is, I think, what he wants, because I don't think he likes himself very much.
Yeah, no, I know. He was always out for. I think that kind of happens with people today too. It's like, what the hell are you looking at? And then that's what starts a fight, is just because you looked at somebody, and that's kind of what this was. It started from nothing, and then 2 decades later, we're still seeing them go at it. But I like the way they jumped around like that. I thought, it gave us something new to look at, because like being in the snow and seeing what it was like as a soldier during that time got the worst, right? It's got to be under the worst circumstances, being frozen like that.
They must have either been short on officers, or Keitel must really be good in battle, because I'm like, how does he keep getting promoted?
Yeah, he's the only one surviving.
And like they both get because I think there's a scene where it might be the bar scene where his friends like he's like, well, I'm about to be promoted. I'm about to be major in like in a fortnight or whatever. And the guy's like, well, he's a major now too. And he's like, crap. Because, you know, like if he's a higher ranking officer, then he can't challenge him to a duel.
Yeah. 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 What about there's some female characters in this? Do we know them? Because I didn't really recognize
I
them.
don't know any of these actors. I know the young lady who plays is it,
Adele.
yeah, she was yeah, because I made an Adele joke.
So
while
did
watching.
I.
I was like, he better not break her heart or she's gonna make a whole album about it. But that was apparently Keith Carradine's girlfriend at the time, and
Yeah, it says they worked on Nashville together.
He got Ridley
TV
Scott
show.
to cast her because he's like, well, she's gonna be on set anyways, so
Might as well give her something to do. Get a paycheck.
Yeah, good for her.
I don't think any of them are that interesting of characters. I don't think they're given much to do than just whatever their said role is in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, were those his kids running around?
Those his
I think those are Ridley Scott's kids.
Oh yeah.
I could be wrong.
About actors. Sorry,
because I saw in the credits it said something Scott and something Scott.
Interesting.
And he does have a son who's also a director.
Who?
Ridley Scott has a son that's a director.
Oh, is he? But do we like know him? Is he making like good movies?
All I know that he's done is some sci-fi movie with Anna Taylor-Joy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, and I don't know if it's the same son that directed the REM video, because he has a son that directed the REM video, Everybody Hurts.
Well, of course, his first movie is a sci-fi movie. Like, it's what his dad specializes in. Yeah, cool. What would be your weapon of choice? Would you go for the sword, the saber, horseback?
I would have to go. I would have to go
jousting.
I would have to go for the pistols.
Yeah, I'm not good at any of these, but I think if my best shot would probably be pistol, because at least I do know how to aim a gun. I'm not saying I'm a great marksman, but that's probably going to be my best choice of, even though that's my higher chance of getting killed.
You have a slight chance of, I don't know, man.
Yeah, because they could miss. Swords, like if they stab you in a like
swords are up close.
Take a long time.
Yeah.
Stabby, man.
I think I would pick the horses just because I know I don't have a chance. So maybe I could just like be killed faster by like jumping in between the horses before they
missed and keep riding on.
Oh yeah, just ride off into the sunset and skip it entirely.
I guess we're over that.
I don't want to hear anybody say the word honor to me.
I'm late to dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the gun thing because really it's one shot. You know, you only get one or two. You get two. So I don't know. It's kind of like one and done. You know, you really just have to throw them away. It'd be fun to know how to do some real good like swordsman stuff. Like that would be awesome to know how to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm biased in my sword fights. I want it to be more like samurai style.
Oh yeah, a little bit quicker, a little more spin action.
Yeah,
I've done the armor thing. Like we have some SCA friends, and I went out for fighter practice. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, and I had armor on, but my God, that stuff hurts like crazy. Even with your armor on. It feels like you said you play paintball, right?
JD? Yeah, I play. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you know how a paintball hits. So just double up the pinch of a paintball, and
all across your body.
all across your body, yeah, and you'll feel. But they use
Thank you.
no, they don't use blunted swords or anything. They use basically sticks that are sword length. So you're just going at it, and man, those dudes. But yeah, they do a lot of fencing and stuff, and it's really interesting, like the different postures and stuff you have to learn, and the moves, and then you really get an eye for. Wow, you really you get an eye for the difference between like real combat and movie and TV combat. Like,
it's much prettier because you have to be able to see everybody.
Yeah,
it's longer, and it's longer because actual samurai fights are like they were seconds.
Yeah,
it's whenever someone made a mistake in the fight, is over.
Yeah,
they don't last 10 to 15 minutes in a duel.
Yeah, but it's neat. I mean, if you ever get the chance, if you ever find a group of SCA people, just say, "Hey, teach me some stuff," and it's well worth it. It's fun because a lot of them do. They train in a lot of that. So,
well, at the Renaissance Fair, you can suit up and do a little bit of it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's fun.
We don't have anything quite that intense, but there are LARPers in my park by my apartment that hang out there like every Sunday.
Nice.
Awesome.
With their like foam stuff. I see them every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, that's like reenactment stuff, right? That's been going on for a really long time. I was watching Harry Potter, one of the movies, and they sort of do the sword fighting stances and stuff with their wands.
For sure, that's a duel too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The one of the best like sword fighting matches that come to my mind is in Kill Bill when she takes on the Crazy 88s or the Crazy Eights or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Uma Thurman. Yeah, that is intense.
Yeah, that's got to be some of the best fight choreography ever, which it's the same guy that did the choreography for the Matrix movies, or the first three anyways.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon too. So
that's a good one.
Before we talk about final thoughts and ratings and kind of Ridley Scott overall, Lindsay, what did you think of this movie?
I think this movie reminded me a lot of historical fiction novels that I was fond of in grade school. It felt like I think you called the story meandering, but it really did just feel like a novel.
Yeah, that makes sense because it is kind of, and I know the years are its chapters.
Right. And I know that music was doing its best to lift the emotional pitch of the movie, but I felt like it was pretty flatline for most of it. I felt like everybody was being very polite the entire time, even when they were trying to kill each other.
Well, yeah, because you're doing it in the most, honorable, fashionable way. So, by combat hand to hand.
What did we think of the narration? I don't think it was needed in the movie, personally.
Oh my god, that was one of my notes too. It was like, what's with this? And not all the way through. It doesn't, it wasn't. It was really sporadic.
Yeah, I think we could have got what was going on without it. I mean, like, we got that it's France. It's around the time of Napoleon. Like, we don't need like, there's not a lot going on in the movie that we need. Hey, this is what's going on in the movie.
Yeah. I think that's another thing that made it feel more like reading a short story.
It's like a live action audiobook.
Exactly.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I completely, now looking back at it, see it as like a book. And actually, it just says that it was made into a novel after the movie was made.
I did a novelization.
Like, it's such a perfect book, I have to write it down.
Well, that used to be a thing. They used to do that for almost every movie. They would do a novelization of it.
I do. I have the Star Wars, Aliens. What other novelizations do I have? E.T. Like so many just from the movie. Like they make the movie and they're like, oh yeah, we got to do a book. When normally it's the other way around.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember those days. But yeah, it says that it included historical context and expanded plot. So if you guys want more Duelists, go check out the book.
You know what? It's actually probably good. It's probably better than the movie, honestly.
Well, an hour and 40 minutes is a good length for a film, and I think because Barry Lyndon is over 2 hours. I think it's closer to 3. So to be able to do sort of the same sort of thing in a compact version, I thought was very nice.
Well, I mean, it's his first movie. He's working with a limited budget. He probably couldn't shoot a 3-hour epic about two guys dueling when it's over nothing really epic at all. It's just kind of about feelings.
It's about testosterone.
Yeah.
Two men working through their feelings.
It's the equivalent of somebody
Old-fashioned
accidentally spilling beer on you in the bar and you just gets blown out of proportion.
Outside right now. Choose your weapon. Excuse me? Honey, go to my car.
We should remake this movie, but instead of them dueling, it's just like, one guy accidentally spills his beer on the other guy. And like every time he tries to go to the bar to get a drink, the other guy's like trying to fight him every time. Come on, bro.
Breaking
you and
bottles.
Me. It's like, dude, that happened like
grabbing pool sticks
10 years ago. It's like, I'm sorry. No, you're gonna fight me in the street right now.
You're still mad about that? I bought you plenty of beer since.
Now, did I misunderstand the circumstances of the guy that just wants to keep fighting? I'm sorry, I know he has a name and we discussed it. Were all his like properties repossessed or something? Because he was on the list of inquiry. They took all of his stuff. Did I see that they took his dog and they're like walking his dog behind this wagon away from him and he's just like, bye dog. Like that's the only point in the story I feel like he's justified in wanting to fight anybody, but it isn't the person he's been trying to fight because he's the one who saved him from even being on that list in the first place. I can't believe he didn't lead with that. He's like, no, I know you're determined. And if you want to fight after this, that's fine. But I should probably really tell you, you owe me one. Please leave me alone.
I did you a solid, bro. I saved you from getting hung for treason.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, he was, it says he was a part of the 100 Days, which is the return of Napoleon for exile on the island of Elba. So yeah, he was a treasoner.
So I know this hasn't been a very in-depth conversation about this movie. I think because even though there's a lot going on, there really isn't a lot going on in this movie. So do we have any final thoughts before we talk about ratings and then talking about Ridley Scott's newer movies? Like, because do you guys know he's prepping to make a Napoleon movie? That's his next movie. So it's kind of interesting that he's kind of going back to the well of where he started.
What if it's his last movie?
I mean, it could be.
Yeah. Starting out with Napoleon.
No, what it says right now, his announces of things are Napoleon, Untitled Alien prequel, something called Queen and Country, and then Gladiator 2.
Well, the Napoleon one is supposed to. The Napoleon one is supposed to come out, I think, in 2023 or 2024 to Apple TV. And It was gonna have Jodie Comer in it, but she backed out. So I think I forget who they recast for that.
It says Vanessa Kirby and Joaquin Phoenix.
That's what it is, Vanessa
Hmm.
Kirby. And I don't know if his third Alien prequel is going to happen because I don't think Alien Covenant did that great. And I don't think a lot of people were into that, including Fox, which is no longer a company. They're owned by Disney now. So I don't know if Disney's going to like want to do his weird alien slash mythology god religion movies.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind.
No,
Covenant.
I actually like both of those movies.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
them.
think. I mean, that's a franchise I'm a sucker for, anyways. But I actually kind of dug what he was doing, and Michael Fassbender alone is a reason to watch both of those movies.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. In the first one, he calls the girl character her by her real name, Numi, in Prometheus.
All right,
He's a
if
solid actor. I want to see him around more.
well, he's speaking of Alien franchise. He's doing a movie with David Fincher where he plays an assassin.
Oh,
Nice.
he did that already. Assassin's Creed.
Did not see that. But if
I guess you're not a
there's
Fassbender completionist.
I guess not. I'm not usually a completionist with actors.
I mean, he
If-
doesn't have as many as, Carradine, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you've got a 50-year career as an actor. But if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and get into ratings. So, because Ridley Scott's has a visual style, I decided for these rankings, if we love this movie, we think it's a masterpiece, it's great, we're going to call it a great work of art. If it's a well-made movie, it's entertaining, it's fun, we're going to say constructually sound. It's constructually sound. If it's obscure, if we think it's for fans or cinephiles only, of course, a deep dive. If it's kind of mediocre, doesn't quite hit the mark, we're going to say nice effort, pat on the back, good try, didn't quite get there. And then if it's bad, it's atrocious, it's horrible, well, that's only suitable to be placed on Ridley's mommy's fridge.
Where Gods in Exodus is.
Yeah, I am dreading that episode because I haven't seen that.
Which one?
Exodus, where it's his Moses movie, but it's like all white actors playing characters.
Oh no. Yeah.
Gods and Kings.
In
Kings.
Gods and
Yeah.
Kings in 2014, not 1956.
I remember that. Wow. I did not realize that was Ridley Scott.
Christian Bale is Moses.
Man. Okay.
No,
gonna have
Christian
some,
Bale, yes.
We have some Sunday school PTSD going on there. But anyway, we'll get through it.
I'll just vote. It's constructually sound. Like, I think it's a mini masterpiece for what he did. For $900,000, your first go, you had 4 actors in mind, and you were actually able to choose them yourself as a first director. Like, that's says something. They believed in him. I think he's only gotten better, as a director, for sure. But he definitely knows how to work the camera and how to work the actors into what he wants. Did he get the best performances out of these actors that they can possibly be? I don't think so. Again, they probably weren't paid a lot because it was a low budget. So I'm sure they were just kind of there to play dress up because, the costumes were good. But no, I think he's one of the better directors that we have out there, and he's consistently working. And I think his first effort was constructually sound.
I'm leaning towards constructually sound and deep dive.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but you know what? You kind of nailed it. Like when I when I read the synopsis, I was like, oh, okay, it's 77 and it's a period piece. We can get through this. You know, I was like, man, is this going to be really boring? I don't know, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and it was enjoyable. And like you said, for his first outing, I was like, wow, it's pretty solid, you know, for a first time. And I loved the like you said, the costuming was great. The design and everything. I loved the look of it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and go with constructually sound. That's what I'll give it. Lindsay?
Oh, okay, it's my turn. I would probably agree with that rating. Cody, you said it was based on true events, so it's a historical nonfiction. I thought it was really well done, especially for. It feels weird to call $900,000 such little money, but it is if you're making a movie, especially a period movie. But it was like reading a book. It was like spending an afternoon reading a book. I don't think there was anything that was just spectacularly masterful that would bump it up to a great work of art. It is beautiful to look at. That is true, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with constructually sound.
I agree. I think it is a constructurally sound film just because of how well it's crafted and how it looks. Like, it is visually beautiful. It even looked great on Pluto TV. Like, I was like, oh, okay, that's a good copy. Like, because I just watched Charade today, which was on DVD, and it was one of those like early DVD transfers. And it looks like they just scanned and copied the VHS. And like, there's even a shot where you can kind of see the boom mic in the
Awesome.
movie. But this was a really good copy, and it just shows you whoever the director of photography was, and Ridley Scott already. And of course, I guess maybe working at doing so many commercials, he like already had a visual sense of what a film needed to look like and how to construct it. And yeah, the costuming for a period drama, yeah, it's top notch. I mean, honestly, the visual style and look of the film and the costumes overshadow everything else, in my opinion, which is why I think it's a deep dive. I think this is something that maybe in the UK is more widely known than in the US. And maybe if you're a big Ridley Scott fan, you're like, oh, well, he made this movie. Maybe I should watch it. But I think, like, if you went to someone and told them, hey, have you heard of the Duellists? They'd be like, that doesn't exist. What? Harvey Keitel is a French army guy? No, get out of here. That doesn't exist. That's not a movie. But if you like Ridley Scott or you like these type of films, you should check it out. I definitely think he has only stepped up his game as a director. I do think he's a director that his talents don't make the movie better. I think there has to be a good script there. I don't think he's a director that elevates a script. I think even if his movies are well shot, like, I think it has to be a good script or has good actors, because if not, as we go through this filmography, you'll see there are some stinkers, there are some slogs, but compared to that, this one's not it. I just know there are better films coming.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, he did 2 movies this year back to back. I think part of that is because of COVID, because I think The Last Duel was supposed to come out in 2020.
Yeah.
Justin, I think you talked about both of them already, but yeah, do you really like one and really hate the other, or?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's the one that's getting less acclaim and chatter than the other. Yeah, like, I loved Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born. I think she really showed what she can do, and she did not do that in this movie. Not that she needs to do it every single time, but it was like noticeable what she was doing. There were some fun characters, like I mentioned, Jared Leto. I thought, he's Italian and he speaks it like a Mario, and I just find it ridiculous and fun. And yeah, Adam Driver was Adam Driver, like he is usually nowadays, and yeah, it was fine. Whereas Last Duel, even though Matt Damon didn't have an accent, kind of like this movie, the Americans didn't have an accent. The way that he told that story was beautiful, and I had no clue going in that it was broken up into the way it is broken up into. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, so so I won't ruin anything. So I just thought it was really well done. Plus, it's called The Last Duel, so we know that there's that in there, and that is a gorgeous entire cinematic spectacle. I mean, he did Gladiator, and there's it shows that in that sort of battle, and I thought it was just well done. It's more of a movie made for me anyway. I want that sort of fight, and I love castles and kings and queens and stuff. So I just really enjoyed the time. But yeah, whereas I'll give House of Gucci another view. Just again, you get the first view is the most honest, but then you go back and you can kind of appreciate it for what it is and what it was. So who knows? Maybe I will like it more. But The Last Duel is one of my favorite movies of 2021, and I rewatched it because now it's on HBO Max, and I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time. So it's one of my favorite Ridley Scott movies for sure. But anyway, yeah, I mean he's just good. He's really good at what he does, and in another year for House of Gucci or Last Duel, he could be up for Best Director.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think House of Gucci's really only awards recognition it's gonna get from here is probably Lady Gaga nomination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Well,
I hope Last Duel gets in for some production design at least, or costumes or something. I mean, it needs something because it was a really well done movie.
Yes, it was, and I think it's criminal. I haven't seen House of Gucci yet, so I can't attest to the performances, but I think it's ridiculous that Jodie Comer is not being talked about for awards recognition because her performance was amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, Justin, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for volunteering to watch something you've never seen before and just giving it a shot. Is there anything you want to plug while you're here?
Yeah, I'm at Worth a View Movies on all the things. I just try to post daily review of a movie, usually about a minute long. So, the attention span of what people have today. And it's Cody was just on it. We talked about Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder, and that way it's a little bit longer, and that one goes to YouTube so people can go on there. But yeah, TikTok, all the stuff. No, thanks for having me. This was I mean, I would both just from you and just today talking about two different movies that I would probably never have seen had it not been for your suggestion to it. And I mean, I like to stretch my my filmography, my whole knowledge of encyclopedia of it all. So however I can do that, I'd like to do that. So this was cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming on. If you're watching this will be on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Join us next week as we talk his breakthrough success film, Alien. And we'll continue the month of February talking Ridley Scott. And I believe this is probably the most interesting first 4 films to make. And I feel like had the third and fourth film been a more successful financial, he might have been more of an auteur director, but I feel like those massive flops kind of made him more of a journeyman director, and we'll get more into that as we get to each subsequent film.
You
But I
guys
think-
have a few good films coming up. Is Legend the one with Tom Cruise?
Yes, that has Tom
Yes.
Cruise, young baby
Wait.
Tom Cruise.
Which version of
I've
that are
never
we going
seen
to
it.
watch?
Well, you know what? I'm
Do we
going
wanna-
to watch the director's cut. If you want to watch the theatrical cut, you're more than welcome to. My Blu-ray has both copies.
I'd rather watch the directors. Now, that one doesn't bother me so much until we get into like the different versions of Blade Runner and stuff. You know, the multiple cuts of that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm ready for Legend. That's a fun watch.
If nothing else, it is worth watching for the effects.
Curry.
And Tim Curry is amazing in that movie.
Oh, his
It-
voice and his makeup is just amazing. Like, I love it.
Is
I'm-
that Tom Cruise's first movie?
No, his first film is either The Outsiders or Taps. This is after.
We just did the episode on him. Yeah.
It's after. It's released after Risky Business and All
Risky
the Right
Business.
Moves.
Yeah. 1985. Yeah, no.
I don't know if it was filmed before those were released, but it's post those, but pre Top Gun, which is his brother, Tony Scott. But yeah, so it's right before he becomes a megastar.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I love Tom Cruise. He's one of those where I will go see it just because he's in it.
It's he's kind of miscast, but really he's just playing like a Link-like character. Like you could have cast any
Pretty
young
boy.
man. You could have cast any young man around that age in that role, and they would have probably given you the same type of performance.
Oh, a little fun fact. That is the longest that you see Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise with that is the only time that you see Tom Cruise with long hair in a movie.
Well, he
That-
kind of
No, not
has
that
long
long.
hair in MI2.
What about
Well-
Last Samurai?
Yeah,
Maybe
Little
or
is
yeah,
that the longest
Is it
it's ever
longer?
been? Is in Legend?
maybe it's
maybe
the
that-
yeah.
longest because I was reading where it was.
That's
he
some
hated-
long hair.
He did not want to cut his hair. Like he was partial to long hair, and they were wanting him to cut some of it, or they wanted him to cut it too short, and he got upset, and so they left it. And then in all of his other movies, you know, he's got the shortcut. But apparently, he was always partial to having longer hair. So
His first movie was Endless Love and Tap same year. So
Oh, I
um,
didn't know Endless Love existed, so thank you.
yeah. I mean, it was just anyway. Thank you. This was so much fun. You guys are rock stars. I love talking film with you guys because you obviously love film as well. And yeah, I normally don't, dive the director way. I'm more of the actor way. So it's cool to dive that way. So
cool.
thanks for having me dive.
Of
Yeah,
course, and
I'm just a fanboy. I have no structure at all. Thank goodness that Cody is here because he keeps me on track. Because I have ADHD when it comes to movies. I could be all over the place.
Yeah.
Ask Cody. I have started off with the end of a movie before, and so yeah. Thank goodness for Cody. He keeps us all on track. So
I don't really mind, especially with these since we do mostly older films. I don't really mind us kind of going all over the place in plot and where the movie is. It's it's just when we get like really off topic. Sometimes I'm like, okay, what were we talking about? It's just me losing my train of thought of what I want to talk about. That's in the movie. Is all. But yeah, thanks for joining us. We will see you again for the last duel.
cool.
Oh yes. Well,
I'm ready for that. I want to watch it, but I think I'm going to try to hold off until we actually cover it.
Okay, it's going to be a while because we're doing something interesting. I'll just go ahead and say it for these two directors series. Instead of like doing them back to back, we're going to focus a month on each director. So this month we're doing the first 4 films of Ridley Scott because he was like in a final 4 of the first brackets I ever did for directors to pick. And so are the other guys, the Coen brothers. They both had films that just came out recently. And so in March, we'll do the first 4 films of the Coen brothers, and we're going to go back and forth each month until we wrap up their filmographies.
I'm doing that, so I'll see you before then.
Yeah, you'll see
I'll
us
see
for
you.
Miller's Crossing,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'll see you guys.
which
then.
is cool. We're going to be doing that in March, so we'll do that around St. Patrick's Day or right after or somewhere in there.
Well, I don't know what that's in reference to because I haven't seen it yet.
Well, when you see
I
it,
want
you'll know.
I want to be fresh. Yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. You guys are amazing, and thanks for everybody watching.
Yep.
Keep up with these guys. They're fanatics. They're video store rejects.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Chris and Lindsay. Good to see you guys again.
And thanks for watching. If anyone watches this later, if you're out where it's cold, please stay indoors and stay warm. If you're in Texas, I apologize for our horrible infrastructure. If I could fix it, I would.
Ah, what a champ.
Ted Cruz did not see his shadow, so